Paris always sounded like it was in a hurry, but Notre Dame sounded eternal. High in the North Tower, Quasimodo learned every rope, every stair, every secret draft of wind that made the bells sing. People in the streets called him a monster they'd never met. Inside the cathedral, he called the bells his friends. He had been raised by Archdeacon Frollo, a man who wore kindness like a glove and control like a second skin. The city is cruel, Frollo warned. Out there, they will laugh, then they will hurt. Here, you are safe. Here, you obey. On the day of the Feast of Fools, Quasimodo begged to see the festival. Frollo allowed it, not as a gift, but as a test. Go, he said, and remember who protects you. The square exploded with masks, drums, and bright ribbons. Quasimodo stood at the edge, stunned by how easy everyone's faces looked. Then a dancer stepped onto a small stage, Esmeralda spinning with fearless joy, a tiny bell at her ankle chiming like a promise. Quasimodo watched, spellbound, until soldiers shoved through the crowd. Captain Phoebus tried to keep order, but Frollo's cold stare aimed the chaos. Accusations flew. Esmeralda ran. Quasimodo moved on instinct and blocked a soldier just long enough for her to slip free. That's when the crowd noticed him. They dragged Quasimodo up, crowned him King of Fools, and turned the crown into cruelty. They tied him, mocked his body, laughed harder the more he flinched. Quasimodo searched for Frollo in panic, surely his guardian would stop it. Frollo did nothing. The realization hurt worse than the ropes, he wasn't being protected, he was being owned. Esmeralda returned, climbed the stage, cut him loose, and held out a cup of water. No sermon, no pity, just basic human decency. Quasimodo drank with shaking hands and felt something dangerous awaken, hope. Back in the tower that night, he asked Frollo the question that wouldn't die. Why did you let them hurt me? Frollo's voice stayed calm. Because the world is what it is. Without me, you are nothing. Soon after, Esmeralda was arrested again, branded a witch because fear always needs a label. Quasimodo saw her dragged toward the cathedral steps and saw Frollo watching like a man collecting a debt. Quasimodo chose, finally, to disobey. He swung down on a bell rope, lifted Esmeralda, and carried her inside as he shouted, "Sanctuary." The word echoed through stone, and for a moment it still had power. Hidden among candles and shadows, Esmeralda spoke to him like he mattered. Quasimodo brought food, showed her the bells, and listened to stories of roads and open sky he had never touched. Frollo's patience snapped. He gathered men with torches and turned them toward Notre Dame. Smoke climbed the walls. Ladders scraped stone. Quasimodo fought from above, swinging ropes, toppling ladders, ringing the bells until the tower trembled. He was not defending a building anymore, he was defending a choice. In the chaos, Frollo found Esmeralda and dragged her to the high balcony. Quasimodo reached them at the edge, wind roaring like an angry organ. "Let her go," he said. Frollo hissed, "You cannot choose. You exist because I allow it." Quasimodo looked at Esmeralda terrified, yet trusting him, and understood the difference between love and possession. He pulled Frollo back. Frollo slipped, grabbed Quasimodo's arm, and pleaded, "Help me." Quasimodo didn't strike him. He didn't push him. He simply let go. Frollo vanished into the darkness below, swallowed by the city he feared. Quasimodo untied Esmeralda's hands and steadied her as dawn softened Paris into pale gold. "You don't have to stay in the tower," Esmeralda said. Quasimodo stared at the horizon, then at the bells that had been his whole world. "I don't know who I am without them." "Then take their courage with you," she replied. Before leaving, he touched the bronze of the biggest bell, feeling the dents where his hands had lived. Its silence wasn't emptiness, it was permission. Below, the streets still held danger, but now they also held people, some cruel, some kind, and some unknown. Waiting for him. Today. And for the first time, Quasimodo stepped down from Notre Dame not as a secret, but as a man choosing his own life.